men are historically, I expect as far back as we'd go into the human story, inclined to take advantage. When they say a man is, he's not ready to commit. Well, in the past, and even more at present, and as a consequence of many of the confusions and controversies over, quote, gender roles and sex roles in our society, men are less willing to commit because women have been put in the position of a supposed equality, which turns out to be a false equality, which lets men off the hook. And of course, for many, many people in our society, needless to say, and unfortunately, one of the commanding reasons why men were prepared to commit historically is that they wanted sex, not to put too fine a point on it. And in our cultural milieu, or at least in large slices of our culture, sex and marriage have been detached one from the other. And so a man is able to say, what's wrong with you that you won't give me what I want? Marriage is no longer in play necessarily. Even tragically, and deepest tragedy, the reality of a child is not in play. If the woman is pregnant, go take care of it, honey. That's your problem. It's not my problem. So that men have been under the false pretenses of progress in the relationship between men and women, especially over this last half century. Men have been given a systematic pass from responsibility with regard to women and with regard to marriage and with regard to children. And all of this has made it much, much more difficult for young women to find men who are prepared to make the kind of commitment into the high adventure of marriage that we've been discussing. This is, in a city here like New York, this is something you hear all the time from young women. All the men I meet are either gay or are just out for, a one-night stand or however many successive one-nights they find satisfying. They are not prepared to commit. And you have to understand, from a purely selfish viewpoint of social and sexual satisfaction, you can ask the question very bluntly, why should they commit? But of course, they're missing out on what human nature requires and God provides in the beauty of a marriage, which is ever so much more than simply satisfying your erotic desires or having a good time, but is everything that we've been talking about in terms of the sacrament of marriage. But has this changed? Have these changes over these last several decades created a circumstance more difficult? Yes, more difficult, especially for young women and not so young women, and young women who are worrying about very soon being not so young women.